we just wanted to wanted to welcome a special guest to the Howie Carr Show, President Donald J. Trump. President Trump, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Howie. Hi.
We're looking forward to having you back in New England.
Yeah, I'll be up in Portsmouth on Saturday night, so that'll be great. I look forward to it. I hope you're going to be there, but we have a big crowd, I understand.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to get up there. And the Dems in New Hampshire, as you probably know, are trying to force the governor to order everyone to wear masks, and he's not having any of it. So, what kind of speech could people expect? Like a more formal address, like Mount Rushmore, or will this going to be?
Not really. Although people like the Mount Rushmore,
it was great.
It's a rally, and it's a rally. We have tremendous enthusiasm. And frankly, we almost won New Hampshire. We should have won it last time. We had a couple of intervening circumstances that should have never happened, like buses being piled up by the hundreds and even thousands. You know, buses coming up from Massachusetts and people voting. I guess they call it same-day voting. You don't have that this year, thanks to your governor, who's great.
I was going to tell you, Governor, Mr. President, you know, if the schools don't open up again, I know you want them to open up again, but if the colleges don't open up in New Hampshire, that'll greatly increase your chances of taking the state. The turnout will be way down in places like Hanover and Durham and Plymouth and Keene.
That's interesting. I never thought of that, Howie. I'll always do what's right, but I never did actually think of it that way. That's very interesting, isn't it, huh? Well, I will say this. We're looking forward to getting the schools open for, especially at the young ages. We want to get the kids back to school. They want to be back in school. It's very bad for them not to be in school. And one thing we've learned is computer training is fine, but it's not like a campus or a school. That's one thing we've learned for sure. So we'll see how it all works out. But I look forward to being there Saturday. How are you doing, Howie?
I'm doing great, Mr. President. I'm having a good time. I want to ask you some questions here today. The Supreme Court decisions today. I mean, they're not going to get a look at your taxes or even close to it before Election Day. But how do you feel about the fact that your two appointees to the Supreme Court, your nominees, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, voted with the five more liberal members of the Supreme Court on a couple of those decisions?
Well, they have to do what they have to do. It's disappointing, but I at the same time realize it's too bad. I thought Justice Alito's wording was brilliant today and correct, and Justice Thomas is just really great. But Justice Alito said it incredibly well, what he said, and this is harassment. This is presidential harassment. This is and I'll tell you, this is a witch hunt, a political witch hunt that's been going on for literally more than 4 years before I got into office. And they caught President Obama and Biden spying on the campaign. They were spying, and so far nothing's happened to them, and it's frankly not right. Nothing's happened to them. It's not just Comey and Brennan and everybody else, McCabe, all the beauties, the two lovers, right, Lisa Page and Strzok. It's Obama knew all about it. And so think of it, and so did Biden. They were spying on my campaign. Probably never happened before, but there is nothing more serious than that. It's incredible that you could even conceive of. And they used intelligence agencies to spy on my campaign.
Do you think Biden's going to agree to these debates? I mean, I already see the New York Times is trying to come up with excuses for why he doesn't have to debate you. Do you think you're going to have any of these debates or not?
Well, I hope so. The New York Times is trying to get him out of the debates because, you see what it is. And his record is terrible, but he can't even talk about his record. He forgets his record. He forgets everything. So we'll see what happens. But, I think it would be a terrible thing for our country if he did that.
I want to play a cut from Joe Biden a couple of days ago where he called the police the enemy, but I wanted you to just hear the cut again. I'm sure you've heard it, but here it is, cut one.
Surplus military equipment for law enforcement. They don't need that. The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people. So my generic point is,
he called the police the enemy, Mr. President.
Yeah, it's terrible. No, it's terrible. I've given out surplus military equipment to the police. And if you remember, Obama didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that. And we have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment that will sit in storage for years and years and just get worthless. And I've given it out to the police, and I'm saving so many police lives. A lot of it's protective equipment, and they don't even want to do that. It's incredible to me. I don't know what's happened to these people. They've gone crazy, frankly. And, it's defund the police and abolish the police. Defund and abolish is the term. And he just signed an agreement with Bernie Sanders that makes him, I think it puts him further left than Sanders. And he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, the whole thing is crazy.
So I guess he signed on to the Green New Deal. So that means he wants to shut down the energy industry, right? And jets.
Forget it. He wants to shut down anything having to do with petroleum. The whole thing is crazy. You wouldn't be able to run anything. We'd lose all our jobs. You'd have nothing. The country would go back to prehistoric times. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Now, I guess he means it, but I don't think he knows what he means. I think he has no idea where he is. And frankly, he's never going to run the country. Somebody is going to run, and it's going to be a far-left, radical, crazy person, and it's going to be a disaster. Look, the stock market went down 500 points before, just on the news, doing fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes down. They looked at the decision, the fact that if I'm not elected, you're going to end up with a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Let me put it that way. They want to raise taxes. They want to put on regulations that make it impossible. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of gas. They want to get rid of all of the things that power the country powerfully, because there is no technology that can replace them. And we would be talking about millions, tens of millions. How about if you're Pennsylvania, or if you're where they actually big energy with the fracking. But how about if you're Pennsylvania, Texas, North Dakota? I mean, these states, Oklahoma, these states are, they made us number one in the world in energy. Now, all of a sudden, we're number one, and we're now number one in the world. And he wants to bring us back to a point where we're going to be reliant on other countries. We don't want to be there, Howie.
I know. Let me ask you about this New York prosecutor who's been trying to get your taxes, Cyrus Vance Jr. You know him, I think, from living in Manhattan. I mean, isn't this the same guy who was handed a case against Harvey Weinstein by the New York City Police Department? They had actual audio of Harvey Weinstein apologizing for molesting a woman, and he wouldn't touch this case. And he took $10,000 from David Boies, the lawyer, for Weinstein. And now he's after you.
Well, it's a sad thing for New York. I mean, they've failed with Mueller. They failed with everything. And federally, they just shifted papers down to New York. And or up to New York, depending on your definition of where they're coming from. But it's a very sad thing. It's a very sad thing. What's happening to New York is a very sad thing. New York, everybody's leaving. You see what's going on. It's crime is way up. It's up through the roof. Everything is going wrong with New York. I've never seen anything like it. It's all just collapsing in front of your eyes. And on top of that, they're taking it's political harassment. It's prosecutorial. You could say misconduct. You could say whatever. It's incredible. It's incredible. But remember, we've been through this now. I've been through this for 4.5 years, and now they continue. It just never ends.
How do you do it? I don't think anybody could take the kind of abuse you take every day.
Yeah.
Rush was talking about it today. It's amazing.
It's one of those things. I have no choice. It's like, do you have a choice? And the other choice is to let the radical left take over the country. We're not doing that. We passed a law, a very strong law, 10 years in jail if you if you do anything bad to a federal statue or any form of a federal monument, and 10 years in jail. All of a sudden it stopped. You see, it stopped. Now they're still attacking state and city, but it stopped. And if I weren't here, this country will go down so fast. Your taxes will double and triple. Everything will be you'll be in a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. You saw it today, down 500 points, based on something which they thought might have been a lot worse than it is. What it does is it resets it. Basically, you're back to ground zero.
Yeah. What did you think when you saw de Blasio, the mayor, painting Fifth Avenue in front of Trump Tower today? BLM.
I think it's a disgrace. What's happened to New York. You have tenants paying a lot of money. They're very unhappy. All of these tenants that are so unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they paint a big Black Lives Matter. Just remember, that was pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon. That's what it was, Black Lives Matter. And all of a sudden, they become mainstream. But look at who's running it, and look at what they stand for. And it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. And everybody understands that. Most understand that. So now he goes out and he does it because he thinks it's going to make him more popular. It's not going to make him more popular.
Yeah, pigs.
I mean, you can't be less popular.
Pigs in a blanket, frying like bacon. Yeah. That was a chant from a few years ago. I think it was in Minneapolis.
That was Black Lives Matter. They were talking about the police. Fry them like bacon. Mm-hmm. That's what they were talking about.
What happened to Kanye West and you? Why he's running for president? What's going on?
Well, I think it's fine. I mean, you let him have his voice. I think he probably does support us. I'm sure of it, as a matter of fact. But we'll have to see. I mean, if he had his voice out there, it would be something I wouldn't mind at all.
Does he take more votes if he runs? Does he take more votes from you or from Biden?
I don't know. I mean, whoever it is, wherever it may fall, but I think we're going to do really well. This is reminding me like 4 years ago. We have more enthusiasm than anybody's had in years for our electorate's going to get out there, Howie. We haven't had enthusiasm like this. You haven't seen it in 4 years. Now, I wasn't involved in 18. I wasn't running, so it's a big difference. And I had a lot of supporters. I said, we're not going to vote unless you're on the ticket, and you know that. But right. In 16, we had great enthusiasm. We have more enthusiasm today by far because they see what's going on. Biden is lost. He's a lost soul. He's lost. And you take a look at what's going on. It's crazy. It's being run by the radical left party. And whether you call them anarchists or agitators or looters, but what's going on is terrible. It's terrible. This country... If I don't win, you're not only going to have stock market crashes. I mean, everyone's 401ks are going to be down the tubes. That stocks are going to go, stocks and jobs. I don't view it as a stock. We're already setting new records with NASDAQ. You know that.
Yeah.
But we're close to setting new stock market records again, and we have set new job records, almost 5 million last month. But if we don't win, this whole thing will be a disaster.
What do you tell the people that are living in the blue states that are just chafing under these continued lockdowns? I mean, Murphy in New Jersey has just imposed masks. Waltz in Minnesota, Mills in Maine. There are going to be a lot of Maine people at this rally on Saturday night in Portsmouth. Can you help them out? Can you help us out?
Yeah.
We're locked down in Massachusetts.
Well, you have a governor in Maine that won't let people even look at each other. I've never seen anything like what's going on with these. It's really the blue governors, and they haven't done very well. But, not only haven't they done well, if you look at Maine, I just opened up the lobsters, and I just opened up fishing. I got rid of 5,000 square miles worth of that President Obama just took away. He took them away. They closed 5,000 square miles of the best fishing and lobster ocean in the world, and I just opened it up. And now I got rid of the tariffs on China. We're getting rid of the tariffs on Europe because it made it impossible for our fishermen and lobstermen. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't fight it. So I've done more for Maine in the last 2 weeks than probably anybody's done in 20 years. But Obama put a restriction on lobsters, going for fish, going for anything, 5,000 square miles. You know what that is? How much that is?
I know. They call it a monument.
Big chunk. Well,
it's a monument
to what?
Yeah, I know.
To what?
Monument to unemployment.
Now, I just hope the people in Maine know that I did this because nobody else would have done it. In fact, we had some of the fishermen down, and they said, "Sir, nobody else would have done this. Nobody."
One last question, Mr. President. We appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you in Portsmouth on Saturday night. Roger Stone, he's quoted today as saying he's praying for a commutation or a pardon from you. He has to report to prison. He's been ordered by the BOP to report next Tuesday. Can you tell? Are you going to do anything for Roger Stone? He was framed. I mean, talk about a witch hunt.
He was framed. He was treated horribly. He was treated so badly. He had a foreman or a four-person who was should not have been there. How that trial wasn't redone is incredible. He was treated very badly. Well, if you say he's praying, his prayer may be answered. Let's find out what happens.
You don't want to be more definite?
He was treated, I'll tell you what, he's a good person. He's a character, but he's a really good person. And I'll tell you, the way he was treated, and I go all over, and they have signs, and they don't even know him, really, but they know he was taken advantage of, just like many others. And yet, in the meantime, Obama spied on our campaign, Biden spied on our campaign. They got caught, and at least so far, nothing's happened to them. And they were the leaders. It was Comey was, and all of them. But Obama was the leader. Now we find out they were in the rooms together. They were talking together. Obama spied on our campaign. Biden spied on our campaign. They knew everything that was going on. They were leading it. And so far, nothing's happened. It's rather incredible. But let's see what happens.
Mr. President, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday night in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Thanks so much for coming on, and I hope you'll come on again as the campaign unfolds.
Thank you. I will, Howie. Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. That's President Donald Trump. I'm Howie Carr.